Hey, what's up everyone? It's Teresa here and welcome to the Crafty Panda. Today I wanted to show you guys how to create this simple masculine birthday card. I stepped it up a little bit and did a little bit of heat embossing, but if you don't want to heat emboss, you can just simply stamp out the sentiments and make that the card. But I wanted to show you how to heat emboss as well today. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using the Happy Celebration stamp set, and it's a photopolymer set, and it comes with a lot of big bold sentiments, which is what I really like about this stamp set. And it's on page 40 of your occasions catalog as well. And I just wanted to show you that you can create this card with just a stamp set right here. But it also has a matching embossing folder, which I highly recommend you also get if you plan to get this stamp set, because you can use the embossing folder on the happy sentiments to create a debossed look, which is the next card I will show you guys, and I just really like it. So I just really recommend the embossing folders if you want to get it together with this stamp set. So let's start. I'm going to use this happy that has a brushed look to it, and since I'm going to be heat embossing, I will be using my Misty tool. This is the mini Misty, and it's an investment, but you can also just use a regular stamping block. I really like the Misty just because for this technique, it's really great to have in your arsenal if you do multi-stamping. So I have here, this is a piece of grid paper you can print on acetate from their website, the My Sweet Petunia website, if you purchase the Misty. I am going to bring in my piece of white cardstock. This is the Whisper White thick cardstock, and it's cut to 4 inches by 5.5. So I'm just going to place that in the corner of my Misty, and I'm going to place the grid mat on there. And that just helps me to align my stamps a little bit better. So I'm going to place that right in the center, and I'm going to close my Misty door, and the stamp should go right on there. We're going to use the Night of Navy ink pad to stamp out the sentiment in the middle. So let me just demonstrate. See, if you were just to stamp, you can see sometimes you don't stamp firm enough and you miss a spot and you get the white patch. I know that happens a lot, but with the Misty tool, you can go back in and re-ink your stamp, and this helps you to get the image right where you had it previously, and it's so perfect. So I just really recommend this tool to have. So next, because we're not embossing, you can just leave it. I'm not going to be embossing the middle sentiment, so I'm just going to give my stamp a quick wipe, and I'm just using the this is the stamp chamois from Lawn Fawn, but I know Amazon also has an absorber sponge that you can use as well. It's the same thing. So we are going to stamp this again. I'm bringing in my grid mat again, and I'm going to stamp this a little bit lower, like so. And with this one, we are going to be using the Crumb Cake ink pad. So I'm just going to stamp this, ink it up, stamp that down. And I'm just gonna ink it up again lightly because I feel that it's a little bit too light for me. So here I'm going to do the embossing part. I'm gonna wipe this off, and before we do any embossing, I'm going to go in with my embossing buddy, and I'm just gonna give this a quick wipe. And that's just to make sure that when the embossing powder goes on, it doesn't cling to the other places where you don't want it to be. So here I have a Versamark, and this is just a wet ink pad. It has no color, and it stays wet so that you can adhere your embossing powder. And I'm gonna stamp that. And we are going to stamp it on top. So for this, I'm going to be using this really pretty embossing powder by Wow called Violet Pearl, because it's clear but it has a purple tint, which I really like, because it's just fun to have like a little tint in there. But you can also just use a clear embossing powder. I'm just going to give that a light tap so that all the excess powder just falls down. And I'm going to heat set this with my heat tool. And you want to get your heat tool nice and hot, so just give it a little bit of time to heat up before you go ahead and put that on the paper. So when you're heat embossing, you just want to make sure that as soon as you see the embossing powder start to melt and glaze, just move on to other areas. You don't want to over melt the embossing powder. Okay, and there you go. You can see that little purple tint to it. I just think it's really, really pretty. So let's go ahead and finish the sentiment, the top part. We're gonna clean this again because I don't want the Versamark to get on the paper. So here we have the last sentiment at the top. And for this, we are going to use mint macaron. Just going to ink that up again, stamp it down. And I'm happy with that, so I'm just gonna leave it, and we're gonna clean the stamp once again. And we're going to ink that up with the Versamark. I just want to wipe that because I don't want it to be wet. Alright, we're going to bring in the embossing powder. And we're going to heat set that. Okay, so we're just going to leave this on the side, and I am going to bring in a piece of scrap. I have a scrap piece of black cardstock here that I'm going to be using for the sentiment. We're also going to emboss that, and I'm just going to ink this up. I'm just going to run my embossing buddy on top and just stamp this down. We're going to be trimming it, so that's not a problem. I will be heat embossing this with white embossing powder. And I put my embossing powder in this Systema lunchbox, and this is a spoon that I got from the frozen yogurt stand. So that is the sentiment, and I'm going to go in with my heat tool again. Okay, so now that that's done, it's time to put our card together. I am just going to trim this. You can use your paper trimmer, but this is a very small piece, so I can just cut this with my scissors. Okay, so for the card base, I'm using a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and this is 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm just going to score this in the middle at 4.25 to create our card base. I'm just going to give that a good crease. And then we are going to adhere our card front. I'm going to use my fast fuse because the paper did warp a little bit, so fast fuse is a great adhesive to stick everything down nice and strong. So we are going to center this in the middle so that we have our two side borders. And I'm going to pop these up on dimensionals. So we are going to use 3. One in the center and one on both of the edges. And I'm just going to place this right there. Alright, so that is our finished card. I'm gonna go ahead and add some sequins because I did have a little boo-boo right here and right there, so there's a little bit of a smudge, and I wanted to fix that, so I'm going to use some sequins and I will be right back. So here is our finished card. I added the sequins on the side, as you can see here, to cover up any mistakes that I've made previously, and that is today's project. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more, and hit that notification button if you don't want to miss any future videos. Thanks so much for joining me, and have a great day. Bye!